So here I am taking down a beam at my garage because I realize I want a little more room for the container delivery. Hello, Lucas Forte of Forte Shelter here, shipping container home builder. I'm starting to post my media from the making of our inaugural 20-foot container prototype that will turn into a guest house. We're placing it here where my garage used to be, half of my garage in the front yard. And I'll have stop motion that shows the placement of this unit because I had to cut out right now to manage the delivery onto the blocks. Here's a quick section showing how easily the container is dropped. I consult with the delivery driver. We show where the blocks are and he puts them exactly where we want it. We then level it with a car jack. What you see here is my little shop set up on day 2, and the nice thing about containers is that everything you store in them is secure. I'm pointing out right now the location of the entry door that I'm going to cut out with the plasma cutter you'll see momentarily. I am now cutting the openings for the windows and doors with a plasma cutter. That was like $200 on Amazon, and I'm cutting from the outside in so that all the sparks don't light anything on fire. I've got my wife standing by in case something catches, and a hose. And as you can see, the container is pretty easy to work with. The corrugated metal is strong, but it is easy to handle. Here we go. We've assembled our jamb for the door and we are placing everything in the holes. Same with the windows. We've got to grind the paint off of the container everywhere we want to weld. Here we are using a 2x4 to get the window to hold tightly to the container. Now I am assembling the front door frame and routing out the hinges. I'll definitely get all my doors pre-hung and prepped next time. Here I'm cutting the angle iron, which is very affordable, and once we standardize our window sizes, we can manufacture everything in a production fashion. We may also powder coat them. Structural welding by a professional, always recommended. And we've wet the area under him and outside, so it won't catch fire. Here I have my welder finishing the structural stitch welding around everything. In the next scene, I am applying polyurethane heavily to the floor, so that will encapsulate any possible VOCs that are still in the floor since the container was built about 5 years ago. And what we also do at the beginning and throughout the project is use an air quality monitor to test and ensure there are no VOCs present. You can see that we've placed backing tube steel rods where the angle iron did not land where we needed it to for welding. In the future, I'm going to adjust the window openings so that they land perfectly on the back side of the valleys of the corrugation. Also, after running these details by my structural engineer and wanting to stick to them as closely as possible because they worked out so well, what he did is he designed a moment frame for every window and door opening. So we're going to take 2" by 2" tube steel, cut out the container where those openings are, and then we build a frame all the way around with the tube steel. So you got jambs on the sides, and then you have a header and a sill. So it will be an immense reinforcement so that these can be prepared for craning and helicoptering in the future. So we just got our windows stitch welded around the perimeters today. Windows and the door, and I just wanted to show how strong they are. Maybe let's check the door. I
don't think it's going anywhere. Awesome.
What you see here is the 1x8 cedar siding that I picked up at a local supply house. I'm pointing this out because I was able to get it at a discount, even though it wasn't what I had really planned for, because the design on the corner trim sets me up so that I can install any kind of wood up to 1 inch thick. One reason I've chosen to clad the container with siding is because it protects us from exposure to the sun by shading the metal. Also, if you leave the container exposed, it's much harder to repair in case it gets damaged. Whereas siding can easily be replaced, especially when the fasteners are exposed like we have here.
So all you do to install a corner is go like this. See, here's the house. There's the house. There's your corner. And the cedar butts up to that on both sides, all the way up and down. Stainless steel screws through here, countersunk into the top. Can't wait.
One great thing about the method used to attach these members onto the container is that we don't have to penetrate it at all on the walls or the roof, as the metal is our primary waterproofing membrane.
We used a $8,000 stud welding machine. We rented it so that basically once we do a quick layout where those studs are going to go, the Nelson studs are those with the washers that hold the nailer to the container. Once we do our layout, that thing just literally zaps the studs on in a second.
All right. And then we prep the nailers by drilling a hole in them, slipping them over the studs, and then installing a washer, as is conventional for a framing ledger system. The nice thing about open joint siding, as you see here, is that it gives us a modern aesthetic while also allowing for easy inspection in between the members for pests and other damage. Next up, you will see we are installing a thermal blocking sealer onto the roof.
Hello.
Today is Tuesday, so we started cutting our windows last Tuesday. All we did before that was cut the door as a test, and we've got all of our exterior ready for siding by the end of today. That's going to go on tomorrow and Thursday. Here we've got insulation continuous throughout to prevent thermal bridging, and then all the seams taped. Our framing is going on top of that. We've got a 1 5/8" track and metal wall, and then we're going to drop our ceiling about a foot. So we'll have a 7'7" tall ceiling at finish, and then we won't need a mechanical room because we'll run everything overhead. We got a ceiling cassette system for the heating and air, and a few more places to spray some spray foam. It's coming along nicely. We're gonna start roughing hopefully this Thursday, Friday. Say bye, Luke.
Bye.
Here we go. They're screwing up the inaugural piece of cedar siding. Getting a rustic look here.
And here we continue with siding install. Once you get in a rhythm after the first side, it goes real quickly. What you'll see next is my framer putting up walls. What we're doing on this prototype is actually value engineering this project. So from a construction manager standpoint, I've designed everything, and what we're doing is then conveying to our structural engineer how we would want to build it from a manufacturing standpoint, and then he'll check his calculations to make sure that everything checks out. We just finished framing our dropped ceiling, which will serve as a freeway for overhead mechanicals, and we also are going to beef up the gauge on all the framing for subsequent projects.
On the outside, I'm very pleased with. Already have ways to make it better, but very happy.
For ease of simplicity and repair of mechanical systems, it's important that everything used is easily understood and recognizable by mechanics all around the country, especially when the units are getting shipped potentially internationally.
HVAC took 1 day, insulation took 1 day, framing took 2 days. Windows and doors, getting those in and welded and waterproofed took, I think, 2.5 days. We got our electrical panel here, finished all the siding. We'll still got to put some metal fascia up top, so it's going to be 1/8" steel like this, and then we're going to clean it, glaze it,
and then we will water jet it and use it on the mechanical elevation.
We're going to black this out, and then we have a tankless water heater going here, an RV plug down below, and then our solar package will go up to the roof. Possibly turn these doors right here into Dutch doors. There's 4 hinges altogether, so 2 top for the upper Dutch door, 2 bottom.
The spacing in between those nailers behind the fascia is for drainage off the roof, and that's a roofing detail that I'm still working out. Here I am setting the interior partition wall and pocket door frame, and moving right in, you'll see me doing some planning on my computer. You always want to stay about 4 weeks ahead of the project purchasing wise, and ideally 2 weeks ahead scheduling wise. Our plumber has now moved in. He's started with his water. You got the wall hung toilet frame in the back right hand corner. The other plumber's putting in the tankless water heater lines in the back left corner, and then they'll move into the waste. All the waste on this project has been run to a Sani Pack, which is a macerator waste ejector pump. It can pump the waste from the toilet, the shower, and the 2 lavatories up to 150 feet and 15 feet vertically into a septic or leach field. It's extremely useful for making the unit turnkey, but it is noisy. So I believe I will recommend going forward that a sump pump is placed outside the container underground. Here are the guys finishing up our entry steps, and moving on, you will see my new electrician putting in standard Romex. He did not like the metal jacket style that another electrician recommended, and he said that actually shorts just as easily as the standard Romex. This is also cost saving, and it's a lot easier to work with. Plus, you get the nice distinction between the yellow power lines and the white for lighting, which you don't get with the metal coated wire. Important to note on this project and all of mine is the value that subcontractors and experts bring to the project. True value engineering to me is taking the feedback for design and execution from the guys that are actually hands-on. Every craftsman on this project provided feedback that we can then implement going forward into all of our future projects as we improve our processes. Here we are adding some more backing for drywall. Our guys hung all the drywall in 2 days. Those 3 pieces of angle iron you see on the right wall are for the floating shelves. By fastening them in that way, we can actually do pull-ups, which is really nice, makes those real strong. Toward our far left, we are cutting out drywall where we have a fresh air intake. This is important to have on a container because as it is airtight, you still want fresh air that comes in and then travels through the container into the bathroom and out the exhaust fan. If you're wondering why not just open a window, by opening a window, you can't control the airflow and it's in and out. By having the intake fan, it is coming in from outside, traveling through the container completely, and you can control the velocity. Also, you can keep your windows shut and locked while you're sleeping for security purposes and not worry about anyone breaking in. What we have next is installation of what's referred to as luxury vinyl plank flooring. Its trademark name is Life Proof, and it actually comes with an underlayment affixed to the bottom. You don't have to have the extra step of installing a separate membrane. Not to mention, it is completely waterproof, as well as the rest of the container, with the metal framing, the rigid insulation. As you'll see on the bottom, the drywall is held off the ground. That is for baseboard. We started with metal baseboard and it looked a little too commercial. I used that so that we could remove it to look for pests, bug bomb, vacuum, which I realized living out in Redlands how important that is. But ultimately I ended up putting a wood down there with a shadow reveal to soften it up. We can use a marine grade plywood in the future. Next we have our white oak cabinets coming in, and although cabinets for high quality ones are very expensive, I think it's important to customize them as opposed to ordering them off the shelf. because of the tremendous value they have over the life of their use. Also, when you are standardizing your product to the maximum extent possible, those custom cabinets, basically the cost becomes much less from reproducing the details over and over. Here you can see that baseboard going in, and here I am waterproofing the subfloor and the shower pan, and then we'll do that again after we slope the pan with concrete. I'm also installing HydroBlock waterproofing board. I love this system, and while it is more expensive labor-wise than installing a pre-made pan, it really allows you to use just a few materials for any size shower. Also, the detail that we're using here is a smooth stucco coat over this shower board with stucco as opposed to tile. It's beautiful, and it can crack during transportation and it's still beautiful. Tile is a lot more expensive, labor intensive, and high maintenance in my opinion. Here I'm sloping our shower pan substrate toward our drain, and you can't see it, but underneath the waterproofing all around the pan, there's metal flashing that just reinforces the corners so that in case the waterproofing membrane ever cracks during transportation, which is unlikely because it's elastic, but possible, you have solid metal backing behind and in the corners and all around the pan and on top of the curb. Here I'm applying the second coat of waterproofing, and I really love products that you pull them out of a pan and you apply them as opposed to having to mix multiple ingredients. This just protects you from mixing them wrong and lets you keep your purchasing list as short as possible. Here I got my finisher putting on an acrylic first coat of stucco in the bathroom. This is flexible, and the acrylic is also relatively waterproof. So I'll go over that with a product that is specifically made for showers, but it is not acrylic. It gets more smooth, but it will crack, which aesthetically doesn't bother me at all, and waterproofing wise has no impact. Here we have our countertop guys looking at sink and stovetop specifications, cutting holes in the subtop, and installing a quartz countertop. It is more expensive than the butcher block more commonly seen, but by keeping our countertop under 8 feet, we can use one slab for 2 kitchens, and the beauty of it is just enjoyable for the life of the house. As these guys continue, I'll talk about the smart features of the home. What we've done is used Casa dimmers throughout so that they're smart. You can control them from anywhere in the world, and you can also put in colored bulbs, which give you way more options of color than you would ever need. And you can also change the color, choose it from your phone, which is pretty fun. We also have a Yale Nest door lock that you can control with your phone as well, and it's a nice combo lock, so you don't need a key to enter the house or lock up. And then we have a smart air conditioner that you can verify to make sure you turned it off from your phone. You can change the temperature. We're also using a Nest Protect smoke and carbon monoxide detector. Smart TV and the intake and exhaust fans are humidity programmable. And yes, it's pretty cool to be able to talk to your house using your phone or the wall mount Nest Hub that comes included with the purchase of their house. I moved the camera to show a little view of what's going on from the outside. And here we are, setting finish. You'll see me cover the intake fan on the left there with my dad's painting. I'm basically just going to relocate that for future models, and we're also going to lower the TV. All right, we are in our last segment, and my beautiful wife and sister-in-law are cleaning and staging this for photos tomorrow. So It's time to start enjoying the fruits of our labor and living in the container to experience it firsthand, so we can make sure everything is designed as best as possible for our customers. Thank you so much for watching. Keep in mind, these are for sale, and you can learn more on my website at forteshelter.com.